Now, I don't know if all of this is true or factual, but it seems as if we know what happened to the America First president and his billionaire homeboy who's sits on the internet all day uh, pushing racist or racial narratives. Right? And we know why the Trumpster is so hell bent on war and destruction and all of this other stuff that doesn't serve America. Comes to find out, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but according to the files, that I didn't think, I thought he could be, but I didn't think he was being there, like, not like that. You know what I'm saying? Not like, ate out the bone by children. Um, but then, seems to be a rich man's game to be a map person. ah, ain't that's the new term, right? He's a map person. Maybe he's a map person. You know what I mean? Since saying the word pedophile is a derogatory term or something like that, right? So now we see why he was so. I thought it was the bullets whizzing past his head that made him change everything he was stood for, or stood standing on, or that business he was talking about. But now I see it just, you know, pages and pages and photos and documents of playing with kids that can take you off your square. Woo! That can make you do a complete 360, 180 to go from someone that most of America was cheering for to someone that most of America wish would, I don't know, but they're not cheering for you anymore. I mean, things have changed, just not in the way that people thought they would be changing. I don't know, but to me, there's so much going on, right? You have all of this ice, you know, ice rays, and that's going on in Minnesota where we're just blasting people. You feel me? And then lying about it. We're not really seeing what we're seeing according to the news and according to this administration. You know, and then when the video plays over and over, all of a sudden, you know, there's a different narrative than what we're actually seeing, right? You got all kind of narratives going on. Speaking of, you got all kind of narratives going on. You feel me? With JD Vance and talking what he's talking, Elon talking what he's talking, Trump doing and talking what he's talking. What's her name? Pam Bundy, Christy Nome. Everybody's changing narratives and talking what they're talking, right? Then you got rich guys buying up everything. The new owners of TikTok and what you can and can't say, what data they can collect and what they can track, and you know all of this stuff, right? All of these intelligence operatives working on what's supposed to be a what is the TikTok app actually supposed to be? Now it's just, I guess, surveillance and tracking. Shit crazy when you think about it. But then again, this is America. And this is usually how things happen, right? When you're going depending on where are we going? You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. All right, I can't tell you what road we headed down because I don't know. I just know that all of this shit is like a movie, right? It's like a movie. Everything is like, what's gonna happen next? You know, shit crazy. But what I do know is that we're we're going backwards, right? Where instead of going on facts and addressing issues, what most Americans want addressed or what most people want addressed, we're not going to address those issues. We're going to go back to race, right? We're going to make everything about race. So all of the big wigs or the people with the most attention or the people with the biggest platforms, all they talk about is race now, right? And when they're not talking about immigrants and ICE, they're talking about black people, right? You know, everything always comes back to us, you know, because people are always trying to find ways to, you know, attack us as a group, to make us look bad or to involve us in things that don't have nothing to do with us. Right? Usually, how it happens. When you want to push an agenda, when you want to really get the ball rolling, you just involve black people, right? You bring out a couple of figureheads that you pay, a couple of token black people, right? That you pay to push narratives. They come out and they talk about stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with us, right? They try to get us to champion and back things that we really don't agree with as a community, right? You try to make somebody else's fight our fight. I mean, they've been doing this for a long time. Everything always ends up being a black issue, right? Homosexuality, you know, because, you know, it's transgenderism and abortions and, you know, women's rights, whatever. Now immigration. You feel me? Everything ends up being a black issue. COVID. Um, Everything ends up being a black issue, right? Everything. You know, we're gonna put a black face on it, and that's really gonna move the needle. It usually does, though. I can't even lie. It usually does, right? Because people start moving on emotion. People start getting emotional. People start, you know, getting in these streets. People start getting on these internets and on these TVs and you know the news gets involved and you know and all of this extra shit, right? And it turns into whatever it snowballs into, right? Mainly, you know how the disenfranchised or how the what's the term they like to use when they talking black? I can't think of it right now. But what I do know and what I can say is that the old playbook is what it always is, right? Talk about race, talk about black, the same talking points. Um, yeah, it's always the same, which is crazy because all of the new faces of this black hate are just homosexual white men. um, some of them in the closet, some of them not. Um, the great replacement and, you know, white guys and white women are the new victims of racism because people openly hate them. And if they were to come to whereas the minority, they would be targeted. You know what I mean? Which is crazy because it seems that, like, to me, that most of them are afraid that what they have done to people will be done to them, or what their ancestors have done to. Nah, fuck that. They still doing to this day, right? It's a lot of racist bullshit goes on to this day that get glossed over because they control the narratives of a lot of stories, right? So it get glossed over all the time. All of the fucking bullshit. Right? How the way that they paint us in the media and in movies and shit, right? So it gets glossed over to where we're always the bad guy, the villain, and they're always, innocent, pure, um, the victims of every fucking thing, right? Even shit they bring on themselves, right? Even if a white woman or a white man does something to another white woman or a white man, is somehow black people's fault. You feel me? That's the blame game, right? I mean, and then everybody, you're talking about this, you know, pure save the white race. You got JD Vance, and he's a white man married. He's not married to him. The shit is crazy, right? The shit is crazy because the people that talk the most shit, they're either not married to the race of people they're trying to save, or they're homosexual, which means that you're not going to have any children because you're homosexual. And you're not going to have a child busting semen up some man's backside. But it's not our fault, or it's not anybody's fault, that for a long time, to be a successful white person in America, you had to wait to have children, right? And the average white person at this time that I'm thinking was having an average of 1.5 kids, meaning they was having one kid or maybe two kids, but no more than that, right? And who fault is that? People know if you want to wait until after you get your career started, once you get up in your 30s and shit like that, a lot of women aren't, you know what I mean? You miss your window when it comes to having a child. You know what I mean? And who fault is that? Shit.